In this video we're going to compare the screens of the Nokia Lumia 620, 625 and 720. Now these are all running at 480 by 800 pixels, but they're obviously different sizes, 3.8 inches, 4.7 inches, the biggest for any Lumia device, and 4.3 inches here. They're all LCD technology, but you can see they're not created equal in terms of screens. I would say the best here is the 720, probably what you'd expect from the higher end device. Then probably the 620. It can feel a bit oversaturated and bright at times, but I would give it the nod over the 625, which in terms of screen quality I would say is nearer the Lumia 520 than either of these two devices, but it's still not that bad. Another element you can see here is the viewing angle. It's not really as good on the 625, but there are other factors to consider. Of course, you've got the size, but also this is actually protected by Gorilla Glass 2. These two are protected by scratch-resistant plastic, so I'd expect this to stand up better over time. Another factor I think you could think about is, fingerprints increase and how much does each device attract that. And I'm afraid the 625 is perhaps a little weaker here than the other two. Now you can see here there's a few more fingerprints on the 625. That's partly because the screen doesn't feel as black, and that's because Nokia doesn't have the clear black display technology on the 625, and so as a result the blacks don't feel quite as black on the 625. Obviously this is a cost-cutting measure. It does have the sunlight readability enhancement, so it remains pretty good outside, but you can see here the screen just doesn't quite have the same snap or blackness to it, and particularly if you tilt the device a little bit you do tend to get, you can see there, a refraction across the screen much more than you do on either of these other two devices. You get them on all devices inevitably, but the 625 may be a little bit weaker there. So I do feel the 625, the screen is kind of the central issue. In order to get this bigger screen, 4.7 inches, some other sacrifices have perhaps been made. Whether that's important to you really depends on what you consider important in your device screen. If you don't mind having to clean it a bit more often, and if you really want that big screen, the 625 is a very attractive device, and there's plenty of other things going for it, such as the LTE connectivity. So there we go. Just very quickly look through the screens there. I mean, in terms of the other bits of performance, they're all pretty good, and they've all got the super sensitive touch, which means you can use them with the back of a fingernail or a pen. So that's kind of a quick run through. One thing I guess I should note just here, if we change the brightness control here on the 625, you can in a sense kind of fake having a slightly better screen. We've got it on automatic. If we just switch that off a moment and turn it up to high, obviously this does have an impact on the battery, but you can suddenly see the difference between the three devices becomes less. And obviously these are both running on automatic brightness in medium screen, so that would equally apply to these devices. So 625, as I say, screen is going to be a central issue, I think. If you want to take one thing away from it, better 625, Gorilla Glass 2, bigger size. Downside, the quality of the screen is perhaps not quite matching these other kind of two companion devices in the Lumia range, but it's more a reflection of the fact that the 620 and the 720 have very good screens. If you're looking to compare the 625 to other devices in the kind of price segment and of this size screen, actually it remains still pretty competitive thanks to things like the super sensitive touch and the sunlight readability enhancements. So it's more a reflection on how much effort Nokia put into their devices elsewhere. As always in a smartphone, it's kind of about the compromises, and the 625 has a lot of other things going for it. But I think for a lot of people the screen is going to be an interesting factor in their decision making process.